We appreciate your time. Thanks for coming to Louisville. I hope it's not your last visit.
No, indeed.
You got to come back to a derby.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I want to touch on first something that you kind of ended your speech talking about, diversity and the strength in diversity, and you can't live in isolation, something that we talk about here in Louisville certainly a lot when it comes to the 9th Street divide here in town and bringing the community together. So my understanding in New Orleans is that in New Orleans proper, that it is very diverse. It is culturally, racially diverse, kind of everyone is living together. So how did it get to that point, and what can we draw from that here in Louisville?
Well, the demographics in New Orleans are a little bit different. The city's 62% African American. We have a robust but small Hispanic population and a very tiny Vietnamese population. About 32% of the city is Caucasian. So it is true that the demographics are different. And it is true that we spend a lot of time together, but it's not true that we'll solve the whole problem. And one of the things that we've tried to do, because we have the same issues that every other city has, the kind of upset that folks are having between their police department and the community with police-involved shootings, the instances with police officers in Baton Rouge just a couple of months ago, we had 3 police officers that were shot. We're going through that same agony and trying to work our way through that. One of the things we have really tried to do, though, is to make sure that everybody is at the table. It's really important that people feel included, heard, listened to, and have responses that are open and transparent that everybody can actually see and judge. Not every community has that system set up. I know the mayor does because I heard him talk about that this morning, and I can't overstate how critically important that is. So, and with the mayor's plan that he's working on with safe neighborhoods, he's not just talking about violence from a perspective of young men shooting each other who know each other, but also suicide and also opioid addiction. Now, we see this all over the country. It actually manifests itself in Vermont and Maine, way up in the Northeast first, but now mayors all across America and county presidents and county judges are seeing this too. All of those things have to be addressed the same way, and the only way you can do it is if people acknowledge it, are not afraid of it, and actually walk to it. And so I'll end with this. On the issue of race, I really just beg all of you, don't sweep this under the rug. We're not in a post-racial America. We're just not there. And you cannot, this issue is not going to go away for us. The only way to do it is to run to the fire. And I like to say, you can't go around it, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you really got to go through it. And so you have to set up some mechanism where you can have a conversation where people are in a safe space to actually get to a constructive outlook. That's different for every community. In New Orleans, we've done it with something called the Welcome Table that was manifest by Governor William Winter at Ole Miss. It's called the Table for Racial Reconciliation, where we actually talk about the things. And we actually have community meetings and we actually discuss them. We don't hurl them over CNN and Fox and call each other names and then run away like we don't know each other. That's the wrong way to do it. The best way to do it is have a community conversation, because if you don't talk about it, it will manifest itself in other ways that are not constructive for the growth of the community.
All right. Well, Mayor, did you want to respond to that and talk about what's kind of happening here in Louisville addressing some of those issues?
Well, every city is different naturally. You know, our demographics here are about 68% white, 22% black, and about 10% international. We kind of clump all internationals together. And that's the most rapidly growing part of our population. Globalizing our city is a critical initiative for us. I want our kids to be able to grow up in a city where they're comfortable operating anywhere in the world, whether it's Louisville, London, Lahore, so that they're global citizens. That's one issue. It's a broader issue. We're a city, I think everybody sees this, where we lean into race issues, we lean into civil rights issues. That's why we created our Office for Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods, because I'm totally on the same page with Mayor Landrieu here. The strong cities are the ones that don't mind getting together with folks for the first time and trying to find common ground. And sometimes it's like any relationship. It can be a little messy at first, but after that initial meeting, it's like, okay, we know each other now. And it's one thing to be angry, but that's not a strategy. Most everybody wants our city to be a great, healthy, growing city. Fortunately, we've got this backdrop of a strong interfaith relationship here in our city as well, so that's helped us with a lot of the issues that we have in our city. But if you're in a minority population in any country, but specifically in America, specifically in cities like Louisville or New Orleans, you're used to the majority population to tell you, be patient, it's going to be better tomorrow, just hang in there with us. Well, if you've been told that for 4 generations, 8 generations, you're kind of losing patience. And so part of the problem is, of course, is that the global economy has moved faster than our citizens' ability to keep up with it. So kind of the angry, white males that are drawn to the Trump campaign because they feel like they're losing their place in America, some of that frustration that they feel is the same frustration that has been felt in our communities of colors for generations and generations. So it's ironic that those two groups have so much in common, yet we're trying to be pulled apart in a political season. So how we address this, both as a society and here in our city, is a critical issue. But you can continue to see a lot of leaning into those programs. Our Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods and faith community will continue to lead those conversations, and I naturally will be right in the middle of it as well.
We know you have been, Mayor. Well, I want to talk to you. You guys touched on Silicon Bayou, talking about private sector jobs and retaining and attracting some of America's young talent into the industries that are booming, the tech industries and that kind of thing. You guys have been working on that, and what have you guys been doing that we can look at here in Louisville?
Well, again, I actually, again, as I said, as the mayor goes around and he's looking for ideas, I steal a lot of ideas from places and things, and when I hear people give speeches, there's a guy named Richard Florida, that's an economist that wrote a book on the creative class, and it was the first time I really started thinking about economic sectors in the creative field. He was really kind of talking about IT, but as it related to the city of New Orleans, I heard cultural class and cultural workers and creators. So these individuals that played up here, every one of them is a small business owner, and they're part of your creative class. The men and women that are working, that are serving us today, the people that work, that actually paint and do stuff. If you think about the back of the house side of art, and not just the passive side, you go look at a piece of art and you think it's valuable, you want to buy it, that's nice, but you ought to think about who manufactured the paint, and who manufactured the paintbrush, and who constructed the frame that it's in. When you kind of dig down really deeply into that, and you start thinking about what economic impact all of those jobs had in Louisiana, there are about 144,000 of them that surrounded art, music, historic preservation, and then the creation of entrepreneurship. So we kind of moved from social entrepreneurship into entrepreneurship and said, well, how are we actually going to attract those folks? This is what takes you into diversity. And young people are going to solve a lot of our problems that some older of us are struggling with as it regards to race and gender and sexual orientation and all that stuff. The younger folks in the world don't care about all that stuff. They care about being in a creative, cool place. That's what they care about, and that's why they're moving places. Now, they want the opportunity to make a good living, but they want to be someplace where they're comfortable and they create, and some spaces are better than that. In New Orleans, we started thinking about that. And so as these young folks moved to the city of New Orleans, we started thinking about how do you actually incubate entrepreneurship. So we created something called the Idea Village, and we actually started working at it. So here's a big, clear message. If you think about something and you work at it and you continue to persevere, you're actually going to get better than if you just talk about it. So you actually have to do the hard work of setting up institutions, programming, and encouraging people to come, and hope that you create a virtuous cycle of success that gives them a sense that their decision to move to your place actually is going to pay dividends, and not say, well, I really tried that. Let me go back in and move in with my mother and my father, and live in their basement apartment. And in the city of New Orleans, we've tried to create that environment where we can create that virtuous cycle of success. And as Mayor Fisher said, we've been recognized as being called the Silicon, Bayou. And it's been very helpful. It's not the biggest part of our infrastructure, but we have definitely changed our brand from just being folks that worked in the oil and gas industry or maybe in the port to more knowledge-based economies, because at the end of the day, knowledge is power. And going forward, if you want to know where the future's here, not necessarily here, which is kind of the upset that you guys are having here like we have in Louisiana between folks working in the coal industry, folks working in the oil and gas industry. How to get from where they are to where we need to be is important. But at the end of the day, everybody knows now that in 15 to 20 years, more jobs that are based on knowledge are going to be plentiful and less jobs based on brawn. So if you want to know where the future is and where you want to go, you might want to think about that. And we've tried to do that in New Orleans.
So that's why we talk about how our economic development strategy is in transition and how we're taking our 5 clusters where we feel like we're the best in the world or can be best in the world: advanced manufacturing, logistics and e-commerce, food and beverage, lifelong wellness and aging care, and business services. We're not LA or New York. So we can't be everything to everybody, but we got to be diverse. So how can we be best in the world in those 5 clusters? And so, as I mentioned earlier, focusing on innovation and globalization, you're hearing a common theme up here between two brethren, is how we're going to get there when we take a look at the future. We redesigned our economic development approach to the world as well when we created Louisville Forward, and we put together economic development, real estate development, and talent development all in one office. So if you're a company that's trying to grow here or move here, you talk to one person and you get quick answers so you can get back and focus on the business of your business. And we've seen really great results with that. Obviously, our unemployment level right now is below the national average. And when you say, are these guys just saying anything? You've got to ask yourself, why are people from both within our city and outside of our city investing over $6 billion in Louisville right now? They're saying, I believe in you all, and I believe in the future of this city because of our authenticity and our talent. Now, and frankly, so one of the things that we've got to do, because for a long time we were complacent, and you might remember I ran on this, that we compared ourselves to ourselves. And Mitch, we'd say, we're doing better than last year. Okay, but how's Nashville doing?
That's right.
How's Chicago doing? How's New Orleans doing? What we've got to do is compare ourselves to the best cities in the world to say, how are we doing compared to them? And that's how we win the talent war, which obviously creates opportunities, but for a lot of us too, it's our kids and our grandkids we want to live here as well. So what you all see and what you all are part of, as you know, is you're part of a city in transition. So I'd ask you, let's keep hitting those singles every day, good solid work, but think big, think like a winner, make things happen. A lot of time when you go to cities where, it's like everything's going on here, everybody's talking like it's fantastic, and you look underneath the covers, maybe not so much. But they talk like it is, and it's their mindset. And so a lot of time that mindset says, well, gosh, I got to go there. Things are happening there. I got to invest there. So what we've got substance, and we got real good things happening in our city.
That statue of David is really big too. Big. Y'all thought really big on that.
He's like, what is that?
Big. Big.
You just got here. You've already seen the statue.
I want to put an exclamation point on this for the mayor. A lot of the most often question I get was, did the city of New Orleans need a catastrophe to actually recreate itself? It is true, if we're being honest about ourselves, that when you completely knocked on your butt like that is something that will give you an impetus to stand back up. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I would really encourage you guys, I'm really impressed with what I see. You have everything you need in this city to be the greatest city in America. You have everything. Don't wait on a bad thing to happen to kind of throw you into. You already know what you need to do. If the demographics are such in this city, and the way you work with each other is that people are not feeling comfortable crossing a street or moving into another neighborhood, if they're not being integrated into the school system, if they're not being a part of giving and they're pushed into a part of taking, that's going to create resentment. Whether they're white guys from the rural counties or whether they're African-American kids from the inner city, fix that. You know that is a problem. We all have this all over the country. We haven't figured this out yet. One of the legitimate beefs that we're hearing across the country, and it's manifesting itself in the Black Lives Matter movement, it's manifesting itself in Operation Wall Street, it's manifesting in a lot of the folks that are showing up at the Trump rallies, is there are lots of folks, irrespective of race or where they live, that feel disconnected. And being disconnected from each other is not good. That means people are pulling in bad directions. So without getting ideologically bent on it about who you're going to be for Trump or Clinton, think about, this is what mayors think about. We're kind of looking at that problem, and we're seeing those things pop up. And when we talk to those individuals, even though they don't talk to each other, we're hearing common stories from them. I didn't have a good enough education. The family was kind of rough. I got involved with the law and the system didn't treat me right. I don't have any pathway to get from my level of knowledge to the skill set that I need for the job of the 21st century. How are you going to get me there? So again, we're thinking in terms of how you solve those problems, but I can tell you, and Greg can speak for himself here, but I know he sees this, you see the connection between the stories. If you closed your eyes, you wouldn't know whether it was a white kid telling you the story or a black kid, because the stories are somewhat the same. And so what we have to think about is that people are moving to cities, and then there's that disconnection and that disaffection, and disaffection is causing wage depression and job depression, and not wage growth and job growth. Then we ought to think about, well, what the hell do we have to do to close that gap? And that's a problem that can be solved. That is something that we can do in the United States of America. We haven't done it yet, but it's something that I think we can find the answer to. And when we do, I think things are going to get a little bit better for more people.
And you can pose the challenge like in big words, big challenges like that. But I want to thank you all for helping us solve this one kid at a time. And what I'm talking about is we just celebrated the close of our Summer Works program last week. Think about this. 5 years ago, when we started our summer job program for kids that need a hand up, kids need a job. First year, we had 200 kids. You all helped employ 200 kids. This year, 4,200 kids in our community had summer jobs.
That's terrific.
And if you didn't hear on the news what these kids were saying about these opportunities. So these are kids that don't have a mom or dad that can call another mom or dad and say, hey, can you help Charlie with the summer job? Our job is to give everybody that same type of exposure. So these kids got in front of the microphone. We didn't script any of this. It was just like, they'd say, I never knew I had an opportunity to look forward to my life this way. I really want to thank Sally and HR for showing me what the purpose of my education is. I mean, it was just kind of spine-tingling testimonials from these 17 and 18-year-old kids that now said, I have hope. I feel like I am connected to something bigger. So when you ask yourself, gosh, this problem is so big, how do we solve it? Hire a kid for the summer. Help a child get to third grade reading level. And a lot of y'all are doing this. So don't get overwhelmed by the scope of these challenges. Just say, how can I help one kid at a time? And we can do great things that way. So thanks, everybody, for your help with Summer Works.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Mayor Landrieu, when I first saw you this morning, you said, I want to answer a fun question. So you guys each get 30 seconds
All right.
to say, you get to sell me and everyone else on why the Kentucky Derby is better or why Mardi Gras is better.
Oh,
Mayor Landrieu, go.
Well, that's really easy. That's very simple. This is easy. I'm going to win this.
Quit delaying.
You're already 10 seconds in.
We have to-go cups.
He's done.
I should drop the mic on that one.
The great thing that Mayor Landrieu's done with New Orleans, look, let's face it, New Orleans is a funky town. You know,
It is.
but people go there, why are you going there? I'm going to party. Okay, well, you're not going to build a great town just going for a party. Okay, what Mayor Landrieu has done is put a layer of innovation on top of that it's a funky town, that's innovative, you know, we're good things, and they're growing again. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
But the Kentucky Derby simply
You've got 10 seconds.
is the greatest celebration of humanity that the world has ever seen.
I agree.
All right. Let's hear it from Mayor
I agree. Thank
Landrieu
y'all.
and Mayor Greg Fisher.
I'm going to get some bourbon.
Thanks, everybody.
Welcome to the stage, Paul Costell, president of Chase and VIP sponsor of the Leadership Louisville Luncheon.
On behalf of JP Morgan Chase, we're excited to sponsor the event today. We're also excited to play a significant role in both these communities. We partner with both mayors on workforce development. We also partner on Global Cities Initiative and on the Summer Works program that Mayor Fisher talked about earlier. I think a couple of things that struck me about what Mayor Landrieu said, and that is risk-taking. And I think one of the most exciting things about our Mayor Fisher is when he first got into office, he took risk. He's not afraid to take risk. He's not afraid to face the challenges that the media might give him. That's what's made a difference in our community. The other thing I love that you didn't mention today, Mayor Landrieu, is your philosophy of one team, one fight, one voice, and one city. And I think, Mayor Fisher, very relevant for us today to hear that. So we want you to come back, Mayor Landrieu. We're surprised as this was your first visit. We obviously have some more work to do on tourism, Mayor. So to help bring you back, and we somehow knew, or maybe we just came up with it today, we're that good at Leadership Louisville, that we have a few surprises for you as a thank you. So first,
Did I just get invited to the Kentucky Derby? I did?
yes. Okay. So we have, Mayor, if you'd help me, you're going to, whichever one you want, all of the above. Let's do that first. The personalized Old Forester barrel head. So Old Forester. Brown-Forman's founding brand. Next time you come to Louisville, next year when you come to Louisville Derby, before you go, you get to visit their new Old Forester distillery on Whiskey Row. What do we have next? Next, a bottle of Cooper's Craft from Brown-Forman, the newest bourbon that just hit the market. All right. And lastly, a personalized bottle of Woodford Reserve, their super premium bourbon that's celebrating their 20th anniversary. Thank you to Brown-Forman for your generosity, a great corporate citizen here. Thank you both mayors. And lastly, thank you, the city and community leaders of Louisville, for your leadership in everything you do to make our city a great city. Thanks for being here.